That is my absolute mission. And what Visalus does as a corporation is we bear the burden of all the traditional business expenses so you don't have to. I'm an expert on the subject of entrepreneurship. I've created thousands of jobs. I've hired people. I've fired people. I've been to business school. I've done everything that you can imagine when it comes to staffing and scaling a traditional business. And if I can give you one piece of advice, it would be take the best parts of traditional business, right? The best parts of traditional business, which is the income. When you have a great big traditional business, that's really cool, right? Right? The fact that you one day get to retire and travel and have fun and do what you want to do, right? That's what you do when you build a big traditional business. You get to do that and take those best parts now and only do that through network marketing. I've studied this thing in every which way. People are like, oh, well, I've got this big storefront or this franchise, and you look at what they really have, and what they really have is a high-priced job. And in many cases, they don't even have that income. I was talking to a college student the other day at the University of Portland. I was a keynote speaker at their entrepreneurial class there. And here's the irony of it. So he calls me up after my speech. He says, I'm in town. And I said, oh, okay, come by the office. If you guys are ever in LA, swing by the office. And he says, okay, no promise to get about a half an hour. And he goes, okay, sure. So he shows up to my office. I said, what brings you in town? He says, this meeting. And I said, oh, well, when'd you fly in? He says, I drove in. I said, you drove from Portland to LA to have a meeting with me, right? That's a 16-hour drive for 30 minutes worth of your time, right? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, okay, I'm humbled, it's nice. Let me give you a little more than a half an hour here, because I felt bad. And so I sat down with him and asked him, he goes, he says he needs to make a career choice right now. He's 25 years old. He's in the MBA program there. And he's like, I need to make a career choice. And it was worth the 16-hour drive. He said he'd invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into college, into his MBA. And now he's making a 16-hour drive to figure out what he's going to do because there's no jobs and there's not a job market, right, for him. And he says that he's considering entrepreneurship, but he doesn't have a vehicle, meaning he doesn't have capital. He doesn't have a big idea. He doesn't have some search algorithm that he invented in his dorm room, or as Damien was talking about the Facebook era, the equivalent of some algorithm invented in a dorm room, right? He didn't have that. He didn't have a vehicle. And he says, so tell me about Visalus. And I explained to him, now when I do these college speeches, I'm not up there, pitching a business. I'm talking about the subject of entrepreneurship. And he shows up there and he said, he drove 16 hours to get this information. How many people can you think of right now would drive 16 hours, right, if it meant that they were going to change their life? I can think of a lot of people. And there's a lot of people in our networks that we don't even know are on the teeter-totter or cusp of some major pain and difficulty, and they would do anything possible to save their home or to get out of the job that they despise so much. The number one thing about being a professional entrepreneur is taking the person, who dreams all day long. If I could just earn enough money to quit this job, I would do it. Right? That's their dream. They're sitting in a cubicle and they're dreaming. I could just, they dream about the day they walk up there and fire their boss, right? You know what I'm saying? We have so many friends that all they do in their spare time is talk about how much they hate where they spend the majority of their time. Right? How many people do we know? I got friends like that too. So the reason why on my book cover, there's a picture of me all looking all hard and stuff with a box in my hands of all that stuff. The lamp and the little planter and the little stapler and the magazines. And, I'm marching out of the office with the thing. The reason why I did that is because that box was really a symbol of our meltdown, right? When the guys were walking out of Bear Stearns with 25 years with their life, or Bank of America, which was bailed out, or any of the variety of different businesses, and they're walking out with those boxes. That box was a symbolism of a job lost, right? What I want to do through Visalus and through my pursuit to teach entrepreneurship is to change that box, not from a symbol of a job lost, but from a boss who got fired. Kind of rhymed. A little bit. I could have rapped with it. I'm not good at rapping. Okay. So what we need in America right now is not another bailout, and that's what that healthcare bill was a bailout of a lot of sick people. And I'm not trying to give you politics here. I'm happy that sick people are getting fixed. We got to focus on solutions, which is prevention. And I know that there are some things in the bill which, I'm grateful that have been written in to talk about prevention and so forth. But I wish if I had my dream out of a $600 billion plus bill, it would be show me how $100 billion of that is forcing people to get healthy and only going to reward people who do that. I read a statistic that said if we roll back the weight clock by 10 years, and took the weight back that we put on over the past 10 years, we'd add $1 trillion to our society. $1 trillion, right? I mean, and if my president or whoever called me up or called up our nation and said, our duty is to save the great America society, so my child will inherit America that is better than the one that I had, not one that was worse. If that was my duty, I would do that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't we all do that? So, it really is our duty to do that. And that's what Visalus is promoting, and that's what we're spearheading. Because you look at the great societies that have fallen in the history of time, the Egyptian society, the Greek society, the Roman societies. You look at these great societies that have fallen. They've all fallen because society becomes complacent and content. And I'm afraid that we have that bug in us. And there's a lot of people out there that are panicking with nothing to lose. That mindset where they're saying, what do I do? What should I do? And the answer is they should take this vehicle, get their health back, get the health of their families back, and earn that professional entrepreneurial income, which means that they don't have to have a job. So that's my mission. That's what I'm here to talk about. And one of the key generals in our army is he's a founder of our company. He's the person organizing this particular Bay Area. I'll tell you, he's a accounting-minded individual. He thinks about everything analytically. Sometimes I got to pinch him to get some emotion out of him. But he's an analytically driven individual. I have an engineering background, so believe me, I understand that mindset. What he looks at is how do we tactically and efficiently build our business in the Bay Area. And he's basically one of the best in the world at it. So he's a 2-star ambassador. He's one of the founders. So he has a very unique situation in that, before the name Visalus was around, he was in the room helping create the name Visalus. And he's actually living in this particular area in the Bay Area. So he's a huge resource, meaning everything that you need to know, or your friends need to know, or your family members need to know about becoming successful in our business model, he can teach you and he can teach them, and that's what he's here to do. So he's going to come up here and talk for a little bit because we have a mission to get as many of you as we possibly can in the Bay Area to that professional level as possible. Step number 1 is get you in the car. Step number 2 is help you get other people in it so that you can become a full-time professional entrepreneur with us. And that's what we're looking to do. And he's one of the, one of the generals that helps does it. So please help give it up for 2-star ambassador, Mr. Jason.